A lot of women don't realize that it is actually pelvic tension that is causing their pain. And when you're in pain, invariably you end up not breathing properly. You end up with a level of anxiety, which creates cortisol, which unfortunately has a dampening effect on our ability to produce the hormones that we need. So releasing tension really is going to help your overall well-being. Now, I've put a whole lot of really helpful little sequences into my yoga lockdown toolkit, 6 to 30-minute sequences that you can just dip into anytime that are going to help you to relieve tension and pain, but also do some strengthening as well. But for the moment, I'm just going to show you a couple of wee stretches you can do which can be helpful to relieve that lower back pain because it relieves tension around the whole of the pelvic area. Now, to start off with, we need to make sure that we are breathing slowly and diaphragmatically. So that's using the whole diaphragm and the intercostal muscles, not just chest breathing. So try to slow down your breath, try to stretch it. If you know the Ujjayi breath, and I've got free videos on my website that show you how to get into the Ujjayi breath, then please use that. That creates a lovely kind of suction feeling, a raspy, almost like ocean-like sound as you breathe through the back of the nostrils. And with a nice loose jaw, you have a little bit of constriction on the back of the throat, and that just helps to draw the breath right to the bottom of the lungs and then spread it out underneath the armpits into these intercostal muscles before the breath comes to this kind of clavicle area. And then as you breathe out, slight drawing in at the base of the rib cage so the breath just pours out of you. So try to cultivate that slow Ujjayi breath, and then come onto all fours and lift and then tuck your tail. So make your cat and cow movement come from your tail as if it's being lifted up behind you and then it's tucking up underneath you. And breathe in as you lift your tail and then breathe out as you tuck your tail. Once you've got the movement of your tail, allow that movement to ripple right through your spine and get a little bit of softness through the elbows and through the shoulders. And then just roll the hips around. Imagine you are doing a hula hoop. If you're standing up, you're hula hooping, and the hips just roll right around. Do that for as long as feels good. So I'm suggesting at least 5 minutes of just mobilizing the pelvis in this circle. If it feels stiff to start off with, make them smaller and then get bigger and bigger as your pelvis starts to loosen up. Take the hands nice and wide then. Take your knees a little bit closer and drop your bottom down towards your heels, and then take your hips around in circles. Imagine you have a pencil from your tummy button and it's drawing circles on the ground. So lovely circles. Again, initially those hips might be stiff, you might be going smaller, and that's absolutely fine. As your pelvis starts to warm up, you might find that you can loosen those elbows and those shoulders and create lovely big releasing circles, one direction and then the other. When we release the hips, when we release the pelvic floor, we'll find that lower back starts to stop spasming as well. Now take your knees a little bit wider, slide your knees wide like so, like a frog, and drop your pelvis back towards your heels so we stretch the inner thigh muscles. The inner thigh muscles directly feed into the pelvic floor. Of course, that affects the lower back because the pelvic floor muscles attach into the sitting bones, into the tailbone. So we need to make sure that the whole area is nice and relaxed. So if this feels too much pressure on your pelvic floor by coming down like so with your legs apart, I want you to keep your bottom higher and just drop your chest down like so. So pelvic floor is being released, inner thighs are being released, lower back is getting a stretch as well, and we're dropping our chest down so that we get a bit of a stretch in this thoracic area, which is really nice. Nice smooth exhales. As you exhale, drop the chest a bit more. Good, and then coming up, and I do a bit more of this in the toolkit that I was telling you about, but basically in a proposal position, just mobilizing the pelvis back and forth. So just like cat and cow, but you're in this position. And then keeping the pubic bone forward, give yourself a nice lateral stretch up and over. So pubic bone slightly forward. Now we're taking the stretch into this hip area here, the hip flexors, up the side of the pelvis, right up over to the hands, and then do that on the other side. So first of all, just mobilizing the pelvis back and forward like so. And then keeping the pelvis slightly tilted forward, so slight pubic bone forward, tailbone slightly under, not too much. Hand on the outside of the knee, stretching up, so press the knee down, hand up and then up and over. A really deep stretch right around the side of the hip area. Good, and then I like to kneel. If kneeling is uncomfortable, slide a pillow between your bottom and your heels. That can help. Drop the hip off one side and then up and over with the hands. So again, stretching up the side of the body. You might need to also slide a pillow underneath your hips just to support you there. Taking some full breaths, focusing on the back of the lungs and underneath the armpits, and then up and over to the other side. Shoulder away from ears. Fantastic lateral stretch. The spine loves a stretch. The pelvis loves a stretch.